The Centurion Project. Written by the 8th Day of Night. Chapter 47. How Much a Human? Part 2.
Not a word. I promise. This is all for your benefit, General. Just let it out.
Elias flinched at the word general. It bore so much pressure, was the central reason for so many of his problems. His legs subconsciously tucked closer to his chest, stopping only when he felt Snowball's legs. He fell silent, just absorbing the feeling of having somebody, anybody, next to him. The warm feeling of another warm body was simply relaxing, and it set Elias's mind alight on what he should do to ensure that he always had the sensation. On one hand, he had a small army of friends who would jump at the opportunity to snuggle every night, but on the other, he still needed to stay strong. A part of his mind assured him that the best way to do that was to remain aloof and alone. But he was beginning to doubt the voice, and it made Elias paranoid. If he couldn't trust his own instincts, what could he do? It was terrifying to think he couldn't rely on himself, and Elias felt a shiver pass through his body. Snowball rubbed the small of his back.
Just tell me what's wrong, General. I know we haven't really known each other for long, but I can feel your pain, and I am here for you. Let it out. You'll feel better.
You can start by never calling me General in private again, Elias snapped. I hate that fucking title. I always have. Snowball frowned, never stopping his gentle rubbing.
My apologies, General. But I thought you loved your job. You always seem so energetic, so ready to work.
Think again, Elias replied, curling tighter into himself. I hate being a general, and I hate leading ponies. He was pathetically weak, spilling all his emotions all over the place, to a spy, no less. Not that the loveling would teach him a lesson and report his every word back to his queen. It would be a suitable punishment, Elias supposed, as he continued speaking. I hate teaching ponies to fight, to kill. He shook his head. Ponies are by and large too kind, and they shouldn't have to deal with ugly realities that humans have to deal with. They don't deserve war and death. And I'm tired of showing them what both look like. Elias rolled over. He didn't want Snowball to watch him cry like a pathetic fool that he was. Do you even know how old I am? Elias said with a sniffle. The air sat in silence for a moment. Then Elias felt Snowball shake his head.
I'm afraid not,
the loveling said.
I never thought it important to go through your medical records. With your advanced knowledge and leadership ability, I always put you in your mid-40s.
Elias chuckled bitterly. Mid-40s. That's cute. He stared daggers at the dark wall. I'm 19. Barely an adult by human standards, and not even close to being an adult by pony standards. I shouldn't be dealing in death. Shouldn't be teaching others how to kill. And yet here I am, the hero of Canterlot. A trained killer training up more killers. Elias closed his eyes and sniffled. I'm so tired and so very alone. I didn't want to lead an army. I didn't want any of this power or responsibility. I didn't want any of this. A sob racked his chest. Elias tried to stay quiet, but as soon as Snowball tried to comfort him further, the floodgates opened again, and Elias began to cry loudly. Snowball shushed him softly and continued rubbing his back.
Shh. It's all right.
The loving paused and took a risk.
Elias, just tell me what you do want to do. What would you rather be doing? if not being a good, outstanding general.
Elias could tell that Snowball was trying to play up how Elias acted, but he knew it was a lie. He was cruel, vicious. He regularly had his soldiers whipped and was liberal in the use of punishment, especially for failure. He was positively heartless, but he also had no idea how to do it any other way. Not one that would work, at least. Elias curled tighter in on himself. I don't know, he whispered. This is all I'm good for. I can't offer anything else, and everybody knows that. The princesses wouldn't have even kept me around if I wasn't such a good killer. He felt Snowball smile.
Hey now, that isn't true. I'm sure you know all kinds of stuff. It's just figuring out what you enjoy. You find that, then share it with all your friends.
I enjoy killing, Elias spat bitterly. I enjoy the feeling of fighting somebody, coming out on top, and then erasing an enemy from existence. It's a special talent of mine. He snorted. It wouldn't have mattered if I could find something else anyway. I don't have any friends. Not anymore. I pushed them all away. Snowball let out a long sigh.
I know you think that. I can feel your pain every time you try to push them farther, but Elias, they're still there for you. They can help you move past this rut you find yourself in. Though you didn't know about my deception until recently, I've been watching you for months. I know you're more than a killer. More than the self-hating person before me. You feel genuine joy when something goes right. And though it's sparse, your praise is filled with pure happiness. I can feel it because I'm an emotivore. But Elias, all of the legionaries can tell when you're happy. The rarity of your praises make it much more valuable than gold. And ponies strive each day just to earn a small, good job. It's not quite love yet, but Elias, you're close. Your ponies look up to you like you're their idol.
And if they knew I was this broken, Elias asked, what would the ponies think then? Would they laugh at their frail emotional commander? Would they lose all trust in decisions and training? Would they wonder why they tried to rely on a stupid human at all? Elias shook his head and closed his eyes. He wished he could just sleep. So many things would look better if he could just sleep. No night terrors or nightmares, just blissful, empty sleep. He felt Snowball nuzzle his neck.
Elias, the only thing that would happen if your friends found out about your feelings is that they would try to help,
the loveling said.
They care. They really do. I can feel it. Princess Luna especially. If you'd bring these doubts you're having to her, she would no doubt
do nothing, Elias snapped. If anyone isn't allowed to find out about this, it's her. She can't know. She put so much trust into me, and I refuse to let her down. He left unsaid the reason why he valued her trust so much, but Elias had a feeling that the loveling behind him knew anyway. Snowball remained silent for a moment, then slowly began rubbing Elias's neck again.
Have you considered reversing your isolation?
The loveling asked.
To tell every pony, not about your doubts, but about your immense love for them? If you believe yourself cold and distant, it is a solution I believe that could benefit you. With your emotional burden lightened, you could push forward into the end of the march, destroying your doubts.
Elias sighed. But then I worry I wasn't pushing hard enough. I've done things the soft way before. I let my family stay close, and it cost them their lives. He frowned. And it all stems from the fact that I should be strong enough to withstand all the stress and suffering in the world for the sake of people I care about. I have been before. Why not now? Why do I suddenly care so much that it physically hurts to be away from my friends and family? What's changed? Snowball seemed to ponder the question for a moment, then said,
Elias, if I'm reading your emotions right, I think you already know the answer to that. I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Elias sighed again, staring blankly at the wall before him. I had a nightmare tonight, he started. And while that alone isn't abnormal, this one was different. He rubbed at his ribs where a knife wound had appeared. I talked to a pony version of myself. I see other versions of myself when I'm at my worst. This was different, though. When I see another me, it's usually so I can talk out my problems, but this pony... Elias took a deep breath. It was different. He talked like he wasn't me, while at the same time was a part of me. He talked about an offer he was given by the keepers.
Of harmony?
Snowball asked.
And this other you had no knowledge of him before tonight?
No, Elias responded. I didn't know he existed before tonight, yet he comes from nowhere with an offer from the gods of Equestria. It should have been easily dismissible.
But you feel like there was something genuine about the offer?
Snowball finished. Elias sighed and then sat up and nodded. Snowball shifted so that his head rested against Elias, and the pair stood in the dark before the bedroom door. It felt too real, Elias said. But the offer was something I couldn't take. Probably ever, but especially not now. He stopped and Snowball glanced at him from the corner of his eye before giving Elias' chest a small prod.
What was the offer?
He asked softly. Elias let out a long exhale before answering. He said they offered to change me into a pony. A unicorn, like him. He explained that his whole plan that the keepers had about me to helping prevent another nightmare moon or something stupid. He also seemed to believe I'm some kind of world-ending threat because they believe being a pony will put me under control. Snowball snorted.
I doubt even being a pony will mellow you out. You seem like the kind of pony to spite the princesses for fun. Except Princess Luna. You love her far too much to spite her for fun's sake.
Elias glared down at the loveling. And what does that mean? Elias asked. Snowball chuckled weakly.
It's not a bad thing, I swear, it's just... Elias, I can feel your love for her. I don't believe you would go out of your way to hurt her is all. You try to appease her as much as you possibly can because you value her. I'm not saying you never go against her.
Snowball laughed as Elias' frown shifted to a scowl.
You just tend to try to get on her side, as opposed to Princess Celestia or any other solar generals, whose opinions that you don't value. For them, you fight tooth and nail to get your way. But with Princess Luna, you talk and convince. It's a softer method, but no less effective.
Snowball smiled.
I could count on one hoof the number of times you didn't end up getting your way since I infiltrated your legion. You are extremely charismatic when you need to be, and stubborn every other time.
The loveling nuzzled Elias' neck.
What I am trying to say is that you are, from what I can tell, preparing every pony to the best of your ability, and I think you can afford to have some emotional wiggle room. I'm not suggesting abandoning your isolation, but start letting certain ponies back in, like you're doing with Princess Luna.
Elias said loudly. Of course she was the center of everything. It couldn't have been somebody easier. Luna. I think I've let her affect me too much. She's made me soft. Snowball frowned.
I disagree. I think she's made you social, and because you are used to isolation, you're fighting to return to what you view as the norm. The truth is, being social is your norm now. I don't know anything about humans, but you are a social creature, and contact is needed.
Snowball tilted his head.
Though, I suppose you've already made a small step into re-socializing by allowing me to draw love from you. I personally have quite enjoyed this cuddling session, even if the talk has been a bit heavy. If you want my opinion, I think you should rest on this small progress for a week or two, then perhaps approach somebody else to include them. Take things slow, and show your love to any who want it.
Or I should cut everyone off permanently, including Luna. Elias replied. He glanced at the loveling. And including you. Perhaps I made a mistake allowing you to stay, and that you are the source of my emotional weakness. Snowball sighed.
If that is what you believe, I will not fault you, Elias, because I think we both know that is not something you want to do. You need some pony, and if it isn't me, it's some pony else.
Elias sat in silence, thinking hard about the loveling's words. They had done a great deal of talking, but he felt no closer to a resolution. The real issue didn't stem from his relationship with his normal friends. It stemmed from his relationship with Luna. Red hadn't even mentioned Bookbinder and Night Flash, almost like the pony persona was okay with keeping them at arm's length temporarily. No, the offer was about Luna, and Elias felt himself flush at the thought of marriage. Red hadn't been subtle. He had said it straight. The Keepers of Harmony were essentially offering him Luna's hoof in marriage, and while incredibly tempting, he had to think of the bigger picture. He had responsibilities to uphold, and he couldn't be able to separate his work life from his romantic life. He had to be the rock Snowball said he was. He had to be stubborn, and if he was married, he would have to be stubborn to his wife. That wouldn't do. The last thing Elias wanted to do was hurt Luna. He just needed to keep her away. But wouldn't that hurt her too? They were going on a date in a matter of days, and that was no little thing. It was a turning point, and Elias realized that he wasn't meant to answer Red. At least not yet. His opportunity came at the wedding. He could either try to get closer to Luna, to firm up their relationship and become more open about it, or... Elias frowned at the ceiling. He had to remain strong, uncompromised, stubborn. He couldn't have everything. Snowball jarred Elias from his thoughts as he tried to wiggle free from his arms. Elias blinked and reflexively tightened his grip. "You're leaving?" Elias asked, unable to keep a hint of panic from his voice. Snowball's eyes seemed to glow in the dark as they stared up at Elias.
I thought we were done. You've been quiet for some time now.
Elias rolled onto his side, taking the loveling with him. I was trying to sleep, but my pillow started to wiggle. Elias lied. Snowball giggled and wiggled upwards to nuzzle Elias's hair.
If I may be so bold then, General, is this a permanent sleeping arrangement? Because if it is, I would like to properly nest.
Elias grabbed the loveling. Call me General again and I'll throw you to the wolves. Snowball grinned.
Noted. Otherwise?
Elias snored and gently closed his eyes, resting his head on the loveling's feather-soft belly. You're not my friend, you dirty spy. I just needed to work out my thoughts, and now I need a good pillow. Nothing more. Snowball chuckled again.
Of course, Elias. Nothing more. Good night.
Good night. Elias grumbled in reply. Snowball hummed softly as he waited for Elias to drift off to sleep. It didn't take the human long, and Snowball shifted as soon as he heard snores. He wasn't lying when he said he wanted to properly nest, and while he couldn't do much in Elias's bedroom, he could make the beginning of a proper nest. Snowball's horn lit up, levitating a few spares of blankets over the bed. He gently lifted Elias's head and slipped the stack of blankets under it. Snowball stomped them into the appropriate nest and then settled into it, before setting Elias's head back on his stomach. Elias snored into his belly fur, and Snowball giggled as he felt a small burst of love from the human as he buried his face in the fluff. Snowball snuggled his cheek.
You're gonna make some pony very happy one day, General,
he whispered. Before Snowball could close his eyes to join the human in sleep, he felt a buzz on his horn. Snowball sat up as best as he could without disturbing Elias and closed his eyes. His mind quickly traveled along the thin thread of the hive mind, and within a moment he was no longer sharing a bed with his general, but his queen. The gray loveling smiled down lovingly at him, and her blue eyes shined as she smiled.
Hello, my son. Is there anything to report from Equestria?
Snowball felt a small palpitation in his heart as he gazed up at his mother. What nobody knew was that he wasn't some ordinary loveling. He was a prince, and his mission to spy on General Bright had been his first venture out of the hive. His mother had been a heartbeat away from threatening war just to see him return safe and sound, but Snowball had played the situation right, and now he had so much valuable information. He opened his mouth to answer, then paused as he thought about the human that was snuggling his body, freely giving a bounty of love that could feed the hive for weeks. Snowball knew so much. Despite the words he had spoken, Snowball had gained General Bright's trust and friendship. General Bright was a cracked, breaking man with dozens of exploitable emotional weaknesses that could be used against him by anyone, changeling, loveling, or otherwise. General Bright also held severe doubts about his capabilities to command, and he was incredibly young and overstressed. Finally, General Bright was isolated from his friends, and that made every other problem exponentially worse. Snowball fronted his mother, who waited patiently for him to speak. He took a deep breath, weighing the decisions quickly in his mind. Though the mantle would likely pass to one of his sisters, there was always a chance, no matter how small, that he would one day become queen. He needed to make smart decisions, even if it meant telling half-truths to his mother. Snowball sighed and smiled up at Queen Flows.
I have good news, my queen.
His smile widened and his tail swished in their nest.
I made a new friend this evening.
Flows smiled and nuzzled his back, drawing a purr from the smaller loveling.
That is excellent news, Nyx. Just who is this friend?
Snowball's mood dimmed slightly. General Bright hadn't made a good first impression, and his mother would no doubt feel a bit angry. Still, he had to be strong. General Bright was relying on him.
General Bright,
Snowball said. Flo's mood quickly shifted, and her muzzle curled in a hard frown.
Nyx, I don't think it is wise to grow close to the human. He is dangerous.
Snowball nodded and did his best to sit up.
I know, my queen, but he is also very kind and very loving. Please, take a small taste.
Snowball let some of the General Bright's excess love filter through his mind and into the air. Flo's looked doubtful, but her horn lit up with a shining blue magic, and she reached out to collect the human love. She immediately gasped and recoiled. Snowball felt a moment of alarm, and he began to rise, but Flo quickly calmed down and she nuzzled his back again.
My apologies, Nyx. I was just surprised by the power of it. He is quite giving.
Snowball smiled.
Yep. I've been debating whether or not to invite him as a love sponsor. I know things seem bad, especially with how he treated me when he found me out. He threatened to execute you.
Flo spat. Snowball nuzzled his mother's chest.
I know, but with good reason. Candlelit Castle has a changeling problem, and I have been tasked with helping destroy it. It is one of my new duties.
Flo's raised an eyebrow.
By saying it is one of your new duties, it implies more. What else does the human have you doing? Something degrading, no doubt.
Snowball shook his head.
Nope, I'm its knuckle therapy pony, and tonight we made big progress.
He blushed as he let his voice drop from his shout, and he stared down as he smiled.
I apologize, my queen. I can't say everything, or really anything. I have earned his trust, and I can't violate it.
Snowball thought he heard her chuckle as she leaned over and nuzzled him again.
Not even for your dear mother?
Flo's asked. Snowball bit his lip and shook his head.
Sorry?
He offered weakly. Flo's chuckled, louder this time, and nuzzled the top of his head.
Don't be. You do the hive well by being so loyal. I hope your goodwill rubs off on the human.
Snowball beamed at Flo's.
I don't need to, my queen. General Bright is great. You'll see. He's just having a rough time right now. But once everything is done, he'll be the nicest, most loving pony you could ever meet.
Flo shook her head and snorted, but Snowball caught a smile on her face.
I shall take your word for it, little one. If there is nothing else, then you should rest. We shall speak again soon.
She gave him one last nuzzle.
Loving dreams, my son.
He returned her nuzzle, then offered her a small kiss on the cheek.
And you, my queen, give the hive my love.
He closed his eyes, and within an instant he was alone again. Snowball blinked as he felt a hand grab his stomach, and then with a small yelp, Elias flipped him over, hugging him tight into his chest. Snowball looked up for any signs of distress on the human's face, but found none. If anything, he looked almost content. Snowball smiled and gave the human a nuzzle as well.
And good night to you, Elias. I pray to the keepers that you have loving dreams.
The loveling settled in, making sure the blankets were pulled up before he let sleep take him. Author's note: Nix is the Latin word for snow. I thought I'd add that at the end just because it is a cute little thing and I love the general. His writing's so amazing. I love this chapter. But what I also love are my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, my tier 1s, Bounce Kindness, Chase the Master, Dreamless Portal, Hyperlink, Jason, HK4, Texture, Night and Game, Macario, Pony Entertainment, Starlight Blazer, and Rain Flicker. My tier 2s, Captain Blue Shot of Chaotic Mist, The Animated Ghost, TGMX 2000, Elemental Wolf, H1 Wolf, King, Potato 20, Mr. Crazy Deacon, Mackenzie McCullers, Nocturne, Papa Lennon, Redeemer of Dark, Souls Eclipse, Sword Brother Mordred, Artie Bryant, and Riani Dragon Wolf. I don't know how I missed you when you upgraded your stuff. I am so sorry. that is on me. However, a big thank you to my previous Titan tiers, Dark Guardian, Danish Dash, and Maverick. And a large thank you to my current Titan tiers, User 1842, and Silent Titan. I appreciate support so much and it means a ton to me. That aside, however, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.